Hey people, watch this video.
The B, it's M to 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 the B, bang.
Aren't you curious why this woman is so popular? Why she's making tens of millions of dollars? Watch her eyes, look at her lips, but relatively simple video. But what is it about her that made her pop off? How did she do it? How come you can't do it? How come I can't do it? I've tried. I have a video. I'm gonna play it later. I tried to remake this video. It didn't work. So why did it work for her? This is the Many Faces of the Internet podcast. Now, what is it? What am I about? This isn't just a long-form podcast where I interview somebody and go over the details of the time we had dinner in the south of Spain. I'm doing deep dives into Bella Poarch. Why is she popular? What is it about her that made her pop? How come she can make $1 million on TikTok and we can't? Was she pure luck? Is it just because she's attractive? Or did she have something in her life that made her a driver, made her study, made her work on these videos? Is she a performer? Does she like to be on camera? Is she introverted? Is she extroverted? What is it about this woman that made her so successful? I've watched every video that she's ever been in. I've watched every podcast she's been on. I've read all the articles. I've watched her videos, any books about her. I've found them. I've read them, and I'm going to sum them up. I'm going to give you guys the cliff notes of her life and her success story. Okay, you've seen the video. You know who I am and a little bit where I'm coming from. That specific video has 825 million views, 67 million likes. It had been shared 42 million times. And she currently is sitting at 94 million followers. Think about that from a monetizing perspective. That woman does a post. If she's advertising your business, just think about what people are paying to have her do that. So if you want that in your life, if you want to be part of that, I'm going to do this deep dive. I'm going to kind of figure out how she got there. Most of my research on this comes from other podcasts, comes from Wikipedia, actually has a lot of information on her, comes from articles she was mentioned in. I watched all of her stuff. You know, surprisingly, she's a pretty private person. She's quite introverted. In researching these other creators, I found that a lot of them are introverted. They have this kind of alter ego. It's a really interesting thing I see. You know, I operate on a lot of these creators, a lot of people who have a ton of followers come and see me for surgical stuff, and they never seem like I think they will. So, you know, I'm quite extroverted. I get out there, and it's not normally the really extroverted people I see that are hyper successful. So definitely in her case, she's quite introverted. She doesn't like to go out in public. She doesn't like big groups. So that's her. Why can I comment on it? You know, I'm a creator myself. I actually replicated that video. We could do a quick check-in. It was harder than you think, especially that part. So in one of the podcasts, Bella Poarch is talking about her video. It's a 10-second video. She said it took her 5 hours to create that video. That took me like 8 hours. It's very surprising, but I'm telling you, it's hard to get the timing, to get the beat, to do the cross-eyed thing when you're looking up with your mouth. Because she describes how she made it in some of her podcasts. So I really tried to mimic it. I did the same hashtags. It was like M to the BBB, like with the B symbol, and then just FYP. So I did it. I checked it before this. I had about 1,000 views and less than 100 likes. So a very small fraction of what she did. And to be honest, when she posted hers, I have about the same amount of followers she had. I have about 500,000 followers. That's what she had when she posted that. And she got to like 20 million followers overnight. It's crazy. So her early life, and she had quite a difficult life. You see that in really successful people, they often have difficult lives because those people can tolerate pain. They know how to work hard. They can get through the ups and downs, which would flatten a lot of people. She was born in the Philippines, actually, on February 8th, 1997. It doesn't talk about her birth parents much. She just says that she lived with her grandmother till about the age of 3, and then she was adopted. She was adopted by a white American male who lived in the Philippines with his wife, and he adopted like 5 other children. She had 5 total, 4 other adopted siblings. And she had a really tough upbringing. She talks about being physically and emotionally abused by her father. They lived on a farm. She was working. She talks about shoveling poop. In some of these other podcasts, I recommend you listen to the podcast themselves because it's her voice talking about it, and I think she can do it better justice than me. The H3 podcast I researched about 3 years ago, and then the Call Her Daddy podcast with Alice Cooper, which is more recent. I think there's a really good one. She gets into even a sexual abuse scenario she was involved in the military, but it's a really sensitive topic. I think you should hear from her better than me trying to replicate it. But those things have molded her to be who she's going to be. Her jobs. So she grew up on this farm. She was shoveling poop. She was working with animals. She said when people asked her what she wanted to be when she grew up, it was either a singer or a veterinarian if the singer didn't work. So she made it, but it makes sense that she was going to be a veterinarian to her background. So really hard work ethic. She could wake up early before school, do this. I mean, that's something that a lot of people can't do. She joined the Navy. This woman was in the Navy for 3 to 4 years. That's crazy. She worked with the Navy and the Air Force and weapons. I mean, that's really intense. And she joined immediately when she became 18 to get out of her home life because her home life was so unstable. She credits the Navy to stability. She actually started gaming in the Navy. So I think she started her earlier creative career with a lot of gaming, anime stuff. And she credits the Navy for that exposure, which I think is important. So Bella obviously has this grit, this determination. And one of the podcasts, she talked about manifestation. Her first couple posts were on manifestation. This is what I stole from her. She has a whiteboard by her bed that she puts her top 3 goals on, and she leaves them there until they're crossed off. I'm also really a list person. It's also a quality of serial killers. Be careful, but I'm a really list person, and I now have that. I have a 3x5 card next to my bed, and I wrote my couple goals on there, and I'm going to keep them there until I cross them off. So I stole that from Bella Poarch. So she has that. And the thing about creating, I mentioned it earlier, she said that 10-second video took her 5 hours. It's a grind. It's really hard, and you got to be persistent. Her first viral post had 1 million views, she mentions on one of the podcasts, and she took it down because everybody in the comments was really mean, talking about her looks and how she did it, and she's not talented. Why does this have so many views? Another one, she said when she was singing, she did like a cover song. It got like 100 views and she took it down right away. I think all of us creators out there have had posts that we thought were going to kill it and we put them up there and it really bombs and you take it down and you're embarrassed. So it's putting yourself out there like that. It's hard and it really is this consistency. I tell my team in my office, we should be doing 3 posts a day. Why? Because you just really never know what's going to hit. And it's that consistency, the hard work, much like her on the farm, much like Michael Jordan, in the basketball court. It just takes that effort over and over. These really highly successful people all have that in common. Just keep it in mind when you're creating, don't give up. It can take years, or in her case, it can take months. She downloaded TikTok in January. This post went viral in August 17th. So 8 months, she really blew up. She didn't start posting until April, give or take. So she did it pretty quick. I think there is some luck involved. I'll get into that later. But, don't give up. Keep going. She's also really introverted. This woman, she doesn't like big crowds. Even on the podcast she's involved in, you can kind of see she's a little bit shy. You wouldn't think that just seeing her videos, but when you hear her talk, she's super goal-oriented. She's focused. She sets these goals. She accomplishes them. I mean, that's impressive. In 2021, I think it was, or 22, she released her first single called Build a Bitch, and she references back to her difficult life, to the things that she was involved with. She had that goal to make a music video, and she did it. She didn't have much support from a family perspective, so she had to become self-made. I mean, that was her only other option, or kind of fail and fall into the abyss of whatever happens to the people that don't have support and fail like most people do, I think, in that scenario. So she was forced to become self-born, and she took advantage, and she did it really, really well. There's not a ton of information on her upbringing. I mean, that's everything I could find. I'm sure there's people in the comments who have seen things, so please let me know if there's things about her that I missed. But she did have this she married somebody and was married for a couple of years and then got a divorce. She's really involved with her partner still, but he didn't want to be in the spotlight and she did. So it sounds like they had a very amicable breakup. But now I want to get into the explosion, the catapult that happened to her from a creator perspective. So Bella Poarch becoming a creator, how did it happen to her? TikTok. She didn't even want TikTok. Her friends would send her the video. She'd open it through the text and have to open the browser on the side. And she's like, fine, whatever, I'll download it. She downloaded the app. For 3 months, she only had the app. She never posted anything. She said her first post was of her doing a cover song. Like, she wanted to be a singer, and it got about 100 views. So she deleted it. She was disappointed. She was embarrassed. Her friends were like, why'd you take it down? She's like, it's, I suck. I didn't want to do it. Then she, waited a week, did another one. Got a little more likes. I think she said her first quote unquote viral post had like 10,000 views. So she's like, hey, maybe I'm into this. Then she did a post that got 1 million views. She deleted that because the comments were nasty. They're like, this woman has no talent. Why is she this popular? This video sucks. So she took it down. Then she kept kind of posting consistently, getting, variable views. And then the post I started with went extremely viral. She said she had 1 million likes. I mean, I don't think I have a post that has 1 million likes. To have 1 million likes, that's a huge video. That's going to pop off. The video she has, which was posted August 17th. So she downloaded TikTok in January, August 17th, 2020, the post went extremely viral. That's pretty quick. That's 8 months. Now, what happened, right? It went popular, it blew up. That was August. By October, she had a management team. She had all these people involved. I mean, she really jumped on that train quick. And in some of the podcasts, you hear her talk about her management team like family. I mean, these are people that she really trusted. So I think that's important. You get a viral post that pops off, you got to get people you trust who know the field, who know the scene, because you see a lot of other people that go viral and then nothing really happens, or, worse things happen. They get involved with the wrong people and they end up doing drugs or whatever. So you got to have people you trust around you who are involved in the process. And I mentioned, she's really introverted. So it wasn't her propensity to get out there and be like, oh, look at me, I'm so viral. I think she was a little bit shocked. So that's another thing that I think she needed the help to kind of coordinate that. After her viral post, her next post was her singing, which I think is brilliant. So she knew, like, the viral post, it didn't really display her true skills. So she said, wait a minute, because a lot of the comments on that post were, why is this woman so viral? She's not even that talented. So bam, she followed it up with a video of her doing a cover band music, showing that she can actually sing. And that one did really well too. And it kind of reinforced to her that she's not just a TikToker. She said that, I think, in a recent article, that her goal now is to prove people that she's talented, she's a musician, she's a creative, that kind of thing. And I kind of have a little bit of that. Like, I swear to God, I was scootering home yesterday and this woman said, hey, are you the guy from Many Faces on Instagram? No joke. I'll go to dinner. I get recognized sometimes. My kids love it. My wife kind of flops at it and like, oh my God. I look at faces every day. It's my job. It's my passion. I love it. Many Faces right here. Many Faces of Chicago. Now, I want you to watch her video again. You look at her face overall, very good skin texture, kind of that playful eye cross, looking up, smirking. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Many people have heard of the golden ratio. What that is L equals 1.5 times W. So the length of the face should be 1.5 the width of the face. Let's overlay it on Bella. Let's see how that goes. Boom. Surprisingly, she fits that very well. The golden ratio, she fits it. I wonder why. If we look at her facial thirds, that's another metric, another cephalometric we use aesthetically. These are guides. I would love to hear what people have to say in the comment about this, but these are just guides. You keep people relatively within these guides surgically when you're adjusting somebody's face, and you're going to keep them looking normal. When people look odd, the Jay Leno chin, he falls out of the facial thirds. So let's draw the Bella's facial thirds. Boom, almost perfect. Her facial fifths are interesting. Her lateral fifth is small compared to her eye and her middle fifth. That's interesting. You focus on her eyes. Even those thumbnails people are making, they kind of make the eyes artificially big. You see a baby doll at Target, their eyes are huge compared to their head. So that's something about that attracts us. We want to look at the eyes. So it's interesting. And Bella would fit that. She almost has, in a good way, this kind of cartoonish look to her. Then you go into, I talk about Leah Halton, who also had a very similar video that blew up and went crazy, 900 million views. What is it about her? Bam, pull up her golden ratio, fits almost perfect. I line that up with her pupils. I would say Leah Halton's lips really stand out. Her upper lip length is short, so you see a lot of that red of her upper lip. That's attractive. People like that. One of the standards we use cephalometrically is you want from the upper vermilion border to the nose to be 1/3 the distance from the lower lip to the bottom of the chin. So that's just another thing we generally use. Sometimes when somebody's outside of those, it can be a good thing, and then that's what we notice about them. So again, Jay Leno, big chin. I think it's worked out for him, by the way. Now, let's go to me. If you pull up my golden ratio on me, I look like a peanut head. My head is narrow compared to the length. So I have a long, narrow head. And if you were to draw my facial fifths, mine are pretty equal fifth-wise, but the ratio of my length to my width, there's something cockeyed about that. There's probably over 100 cephalometrics measurements we could do on these people. The interesting thing, most of these cephalometrics are based on Caucasian European men from the 1940s. So, these days, most people you see that are attractive, you can't picture what race they are. You're like, they could be Hispanic, they could be Japanese, they could be black, they could be white. These kind of mixed race people are really attractive, and I think it's interesting because maybe they have a narrow face but larger lips, or a wider face but, more cut in the buccal area. Does their jawline stick out? Facial attractiveness is an interesting beast, and it's evolving. What we think is attractive now has really evolved from what I say that in quotations, thought was attractive in the early 1900s, or, even in the 1600s. Being really overweight was a sign of having a lot of money, so it's an interesting beast when you really deep dive into the attractiveness and what makes people driven to another person in that way. I tell everybody this, by the way. We have a fellow we train in plastic surgery every year, and I say, find what you love and just do more of it. Then once you do more of it, you get better at it. When you get better at it, people like it, and it's this kind of snowball. So these women have found it. I found it with plastic surgery. I do the jawline. This super niche style is paying off these days, particularly from the creator space. There's a woman, I can't remember her name. All she does is talk about Excel. She gives you the ins and outs of Excel. She's making multi-millions of dollars a year breaking down Excel, like the Microsoft Excel, showing you the tricks of Microsoft Excel. I mean, she's built a career out of that. So you just got to be who you are. You got to find your niche. I think that's really the key. And then run with it, expand it, develop it, build off what you're really good at is my approach to it. So Leah Halton, by the way, her stats as of when I researched it, 891 million views, 53 million likes, 1 million shares. So this has 1 million shares. The Bella one had 40 million shares. I find that shares are really important. If you guys can share this, share it. That's how you spiderweb things out. So I think the shares is instrumental. And she has 11 million followers. So 11 million followers. She's making a full-time career. So she posted that in February 2024. February 2024 versus August 2020. I think at least TikTok has really evolved since that point. I'm always looking for the next social media platform because early adapters, Charlie D'Amelio, she's a brilliant woman. She's intelligent. But she's really not doing anything spectacular. I think her key to success was being one of the first people to take advantage of TikTok. OFTV, I work with a lot of OnlyFans creators surgically, and I think they're trying to get a little bit more into the mainstream creator space. So I'm checking that out. I have an OnlyFans account. It's me talking about surgery, not anything crazy. But I think being early adapters is also a huge point. So when something comes out that's hot, you got to jump on it. Okay, now I want to get into what Bella Poarch is doing with this fame. So again, I've had a couple posts. I have a post that gone from 8 million. I've had a post that's gone almost 40 million. And I would say I didn't really take advantage of it. No, I got a lot of leads from it. But I think looking at her and thinking about how she did it, when things are hot, the news media is so quick these days, you got to jump on it. So if you don't jump on it, it dies quickly. She jumped on hers really quick. It went viral in August. By October, she had managers. She flew out to LA. I mean, they probably recognized it because they monetized her, I'm sure. But now, what is she doing? In May 2021, she released her first single, Build a Bitch. I watched the video again right before I came in. It's a really cool video. I recommend going to YouTube, watching it. It's really kind of this dark, it has some humor involved. It's about how she became who she is. She's obviously had some relationships. I think that made her quite bitter. If you see the video, it's about her and some other women being built like, body part by body part. It's kind of a really interesting and a little bit dark, but in kind of a cool way. Her video went viral August 2020. By May of 2021, she released this video. I mean, that's outstanding, the speed that she did that. Then by August of 2022, so 2 years later, she released what's called an EP, I guess, extended play, which is like multiple singles together. Inferno, one's called, Crush, one's called. This woman's 26, 27 years old right now. She's worth $30 million. So that's outstanding that she turned it around so quickly. She's listed by Forbes as 30 under 30 people shaping the internet, which I believe she really has been pivotal in shaping the internet. I bet she's been pivotal in TikTok growing like it is, to be completely honest. I would say they kind of owe her. What's next? On one of the podcasts, I don't remember which one it was, they asked, what do you want to do next, Bella? You've kind of reached your peak, right? I mean, she's worth $30 million. She's 27 years old. She's producing videos. She wanted to be a musician. She's a musician. She said, I just want to have fun. So I think that, she had this really tough upbringing. I think she really is having fun, and that's great to see. You got to be on her side. I reached out to her and asked her these questions. She didn't answer, but I'm going to answer the questions I asked her, how I think she would answer them, because I kind of feel like I know her because I've studied her so much now. I said, would you do it all again? Are you happy? I would say yes. She does seem happy now. She had this really difficult life. I think she's now independent, creating. She's a musician. She's doing what she wanted. From what I see, it seems like she would do it again. We would all adjust things in our lives differently, I'm sure, to one level, but I do think she's been successful and would do it again. Does she have a manager? At what point did she get a manager? She got it within 2 months of her most viral post. So I think, I know I'm kind of hammering on that, but I think that's important, finding someone you trust that can help you build, once you kind of reach it to the point of being able to build. How many hours a week does she work? I want them to answer that for you guys, because me as a creator, I mean, I told you, she said that 10-second video took her 5 hours. It took me 8 hours. I mean, I had my door locked in my office. People were like, Dr. C, what are you doing? I'm like, just leave me alone. And I was like making the video. I made at least 100 renditions of it. And each one I'd copy, redo it, pause it. So the creator life is not easy. I would say it's simple, but it's not easy. And that's important. Most really successful people, I think, agree with that got to make it simple, but it's never easy. So just think about that. Michael Jordan is successful because he practiced every day. It's simple what he has to do, but it wasn't easy. I mean, he was throwing up in the gym with ice at his knees. I would be willing to bet she's working 60 hours a week. Bella, if you're listening, please, how many hours a week do you work? What motivates her? She's really into promoting SA, any sort of abuse. I think she's trying to get it out there for people. Mental health, she seems to be really involved. So I think that motivates her to talk to these people who have a similar upbringing as her, similar goals as her. She seems to be promoting this manifestation. She seems to promote, like, find something you want, obsess about it, do more of it. I also try to promote that to people. What advice would she give her younger self? That's a hard one. I mean, she kind of did it right, I would say. It seems like she surrounded herself with people she trusts. I bet she wished she had done that earlier. So I don't know. It's a hard one to answer for anybody else. And then what advice would you give somebody who wants to be like you? Well, that's the whole point. I'm trying to figure out how these people would advise other people to get where they want. So that's what I'm learning. And I think persistence, grit, not giving up, and finding people you trust to support you. Those would be what I would say. I think she would kind of be very similar. All right, like, share, comment, subscribe, do whatever you got to do. And if you didn't like it, still comment and just tell me what you don't like about it, because the trolls built the internet. My expertise is going to be facial aesthetics, looking at attractive people, making them more attractive. So I think she falls into that bucket where she was really attractive, she's good on the camera, and she took advantage of it. There's a bunch of different buckets of how people get famous and popular. What is it about her? It's not only because she's attractive. She is attractive. If it was only because you're attractive, I would be there. My real job, I'm a facial plastic surgeon. That's what I do. I make people hot. So my other sites are Many Faces of Chicago. There's another YouTube channel. I have TikTok. I have Instagram. And on there, I show people how to make them more attractive. I show the surgeries I do to adjust their jawlines. So that's just my take on this. And I think there's something to it. There's something to people's attractiveness. Whether you like it or not, I say don't hate the player, hate the game. Yes, I make people more attractive. People are able to take advantage of being more attractive. I think there's a controversy about that, but it's just the reality, whether you like it or not. So this is Many Faces of the Internet. She's one of the best. We figured out why. On the next episode, we're going to do a deep dive into one of the most successful creators out there, Mr. Beast. He's got a lot of data, so it's going to take me some time to research him, but I'm going to try to figure out how he did it. I'm pretty sure it was the grit, determination, just like many of us out there. So stay tuned. Mr. Beast coming next.